Hello, happy Friday Eve to everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Real with Najeh Wilkins. Jam-packed show today. We're going to be bringing on Cartersville baseball coach as they go for their run for the state title, and also Carrollton head coach Joey King. They actually used to coach together at Cartersville. At the time I just found this out, Kyle Tucker, he was the DB coach, and Joey King was the head coach for Cartersville. So kind of cool those two having a relationship and kind of coaching together there with that phenomenal team that had number one recruit in the country at the time, Trevor Lawrence, who is now in the NFL doing damage and doing work. But other news we got to Lacrosse we'll be getting into as well. We got to the playoff major upsets from last night, and then we'll also be getting into some recruiting news, major news across the board, and then we'll be getting into the major championships today and tomorrow for soccer as we wrap up the season, and then we'll also get into major happenings from baseball as well, and then also tell of the tape with Bryce Parker, plays for Lassiter High School linebacker. I'll give you my analysis on that and breaking all that down. So jam-packed show. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the head coach for Cartersville baseball, Kyle Tucker. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I, Thanks for
I'm
having me
doing
on.
great, Coach.
I'm on daddy duty right now. I got a 9-day-old little girl right here in the room with me, so she's listening in on the show. So I may peek over at her every now and then. So
No, you're
kind of
good.
pulling up to you here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you doing the time. I know you were telling me and trying to get you last week, but your wife had just delivered the baby girl. So I just appreciate you getting back to me and coming on the show today.
Yeah, man, I'd love to do it and talk about our baseball team. Man, we got some great young men that are having a great season, and we're super proud of them.
Yes, sir. Well, now I got to get your reaction. It could say it's a viral clip, but I've seen this. I know you've probably seen it too. But this bare hand catch, we're gonna play the clip. I want to get your reaction. Just what do you think of this play by Paul Gamble?
Um, Najeh, man, look at that. Yeah, it speaks for itself.
I
Um,
mean, he loses the glove and then he catches it barehanded. I've watched baseball for a long time. I have not yet to see that. I mean, just your players, their reaction says it all. Just like what's going through your head in that play.
Well, the coaches, they're right behind him, and I assure you our reaction was the exact same. Like, what in the world just happened? It's the top of the seventh, the game one, of a
Right.
second round series, so every out is precious. And the ball was hit pretty well, and he kind of came in on it, so we're yelling back. Um, and then all of a sudden, he's coming in, and then he doesn't have his glove. And it's like, oh my gosh, he doesn't have his glove. What is happening? And before you
Yep.
can know it. I mean, he just catches it. And I mean, like you said, I've been seeing baseball a long time. I've been around the Cartersville program for 21 years as a player, assistant coach, and head coach. That's the best play I've ever seen made by a Hurricane. Like it, hands down.
Yeah.
Never seen, in a program full of great players and great plays. Never seen anything like that. Um,
No.
and Paul, you got a lot of football on your show. Paul's our quarterback. Paul's just an athlete, man. And at the time, he's not thinking, he's just reacting. And I said after the game, man, what? He said, I got to win. We got to win, coach. I had to make the out. I had to make the catch. And he did.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love watching it. That's just an incredible play. That's what you live for, high school sports. And as you mentioned, I've never seen that watching baseball for so long. That was a super cool moment. But tell me a little bit more about your team. Caleb Daniel, he's a Georgia commit. What impact has he had on your team this season and just on that Hurricanes program?
Caleb Daniels, an outstanding, young man first and foremost. But yeah, he mentioned committed to Georgia. Hit a home run in the last series, but probably the biggest play was early in game one out, top of the second or third, can't really remember, but fly ball down the right field line. He goes and makes a great catch. Runner from second tags. Caleb puts his foot in the ground and throws an absolute strike to nail the guy at third base. And the Cambridge's best hitter was on deck, and so that ended that inning. So that was a huge play. And he's made plays like that. He made a huge diving catch in a close game against Calhoun earlier this year. He's batted third for us 2 years in a row. On these two teams, these past years have been so good, and he's just he's a baller. But when you use that term, I mean, we don't throw it out unless they really are, and he just is, man. Offensively, defensively, he can steal bases, and he works hard. He's our hardest worker, so it's kind of cool when your hardest worker has success like that.
Definitely. And then you had a youngster that's been stepping up. I seen his clip as well. I believe he hit a big walk-off hitter in the postseason. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Cameron Cochran, 2025 class for you, he's an outfielder. Just tell me about the impact he's had, and he's been having kind of a more increased role as the season has kind of went along. What has he kind of brought to your team this season as well?
Yeah, Cameron's kind of solidified that DH spot for us as a sophomore. Um, it's a he could probably play first. He could play a corner outfield, but he's DHing for us. Very strong, very athletic bat, and like hasn't even figured out how good he can be. He's just kind of tapping his potential. Just now, really seeing, the elite level pitching that you see in Georgia state playoffs at all levels. So he's kind of getting his feet wet on that. But man, you talk about Caleb, he's back next year. Cameron's back next year, so we'll have a good lineup next year. But obviously we're focused on the task at hand right now, and hope we can drag this thing out 3 more weeks.
Yes, sir, definitely. And then let's talk about pitching that you just mentioned. Just how has that been for you this season? How's your starters been? Your relievers? Just how has that been throughout the season? I've seen you guys defensively been pretty good this season, but just what's your thoughts overall on the pitching?
Well, it's three guys, and it's not just them. We're pretty deep beyond them, but it's three that have gotten the most innings just because of the success they've had. That's Caden Carroll, that's committed to or signed with Kennesaw State. Ryan Johnson is a 24 Georgia commit, and then Philip Schultz is going to go to Coastal Alabama Junior College. Caden and all three of them, man, they just attack the zone. I got to mention our pitching coach Asa Williams and the job he does with those three guys. They throw a lot of strikes. They keep the ball down, and it's just been hard to score off of them. And then Phillip out of the bullpen. I looked at it today. Phillips saved 8 games, but he's also won 6. So Phillip's kind of our swing guy as we go into a 3-game series. He can close. He can start. We got a guy named Jeffrey Gore out of the bullpen that's been really good. But yeah, man, those three guys, Caden Carroll, Ryan Johnson, and Philip Schultz, have been lights out for us, and hopefully continue to do so.
Yes, sir. And let's move to the offensive side of the ball. If you just had to rate, just what have you thought about your batting and kind of your slugging this season? Was it up to what you expected? Has those players really stepped up for you?
Yeah, I mean, we brought back most of our pitching from last year, but we lost 7 of our 9, bats. So there were a lot of opportunities for young men to kind of jump in and fill in. You mentioned Caleb Daniel; he started a year ago. Harrison Childers about to clean up for us. He started a year ago, and that was it as far as returning starters. Uh, at the top, Luke Miller, Jr., outfielder, is done awesome. Um, on base percentage really high, can steal bases, can hit for power. Miles Owen is a third baseman senior that has kind of waited his turn and has run with it. I think is second on the team in hitting. He's done a great job in the 2-hole, putting the ball in play, not striking out much and getting big hits. Isaac McNair Siegler, our catcher, in the 5th hole. People probably recognize that name. That's Anthony Siegler's younger brother. Isaac is batting 5th for us and had 4 hits in the last series, and 2 of them were in really, really big spots. So those top 5 have really done well. And then our 6 through 9, Caden Stevenson, Cameron Cochran, you mentioned Landon Cole, and then Paul Gamble bats 9th. They produced. They had a great series. And you got to have that in the state tournament. You got to have some unexpected production to keep playing. So hopefully we'll continue to have that.
Yes, sir. And then this past season, Cartersville did really good in your region. I believe only 2 losses all year, but 15-0. That's certainly not easy to do. Just what has allowed your team to be locked and loaded and be able to play so well against the region?
Well, Najeh, it's going to sound cliched, but I mean, we really do just try to take it one day at a time. Like today, in an hour from now, we're going to go try to have a good practice. We're not going to practice for 4 hours. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to try and go do what we do and practice well for those 2 hours. And our young men practiced really, really well before the first round against Jefferson, who was a really, really tough 4 seed that we had in the first round. We played real well, so our guys have that evidence of preparing well leads to success on the field, and they did that throughout the region. And listen, we had, with Calhoun, we had 3 really tight games that could have gone either way, and we kind of found a way to win those 3. That was our first region series, and I think it gave us a lot of confidence. We kind of took off from there.
Definitely. And then walk me a little bit through the Cartersville program, right? You've had some players that have been drafted over the years: Anthony Siegler, Mason Barnett, Elliot Anderson, Luke Schitz, Devin Warner. Just what allows that program to be there year in, year out? I know you mentioned kind of just taking it one day at a time, but just kind of walk me through how you've shaped and how the Cartersville program has shaped itself as one of those kind of programs, year in, year out, they're going to be there?
Yeah, it's an awesome question. I think you got to give a lot of credit to, he's my head coach, and then who I learned from, as a mentor coach. Stuart Chester is at Buford now. Coach Chester took over in 1998. I was actually a junior on the team then, and Cartersville baseball was kind of, it was on the upswing, but it wasn't, like back in the 90s. Gainesville was winning a ton of championships. Greenbrier, who we're going to play this weekend, was winning a ton of championships. Cartersville really wasn't mentioned in those same breath as those teams, but Coach Chester kind of made it like the cool thing going. And people in Cartersville, it's a big baseball town, and the Little League Park is 2 blocks away from the high school park. So kids grow up playing. They hear the music. They hear the home run siren. So they grow up wanting to be a Purple Hurricane, and I think that instills a lot of pride in the team. And then that's it, that saying, tradition doesn't graduate. Thankfully, it's kind of been how that is for us, is that tradition just keeps going. And the next wave of players, they know the expectation, they know what was done before them, and they kind of want to set their own mark. And the team this year, I think, has really done that. It's a group of kids that have played together since they were 19 years old, and we have a big senior class. They know their time together is coming to an end, but they want to end it the right way.
And then, as you mentioned, just ending it the right way, being locked and loaded, and things like that. Do you have to implore them anymore? Give them any? You probably don't, but if do you have to give them more motivation? Like last year, you guys got so close. You played Loganville in the state championship. You guys lost, but just what was kind of your message to your boys after last season, going into this season, to kind of get them ready for this run?
Yeah, I think it kind of made my job easy this year, Najee, from motivation, because to be that close and, but also to see how good Loganville was. I mean, Loganville beat us last year because they were a better team. It hurt to be one game from winning it, but I mean, they were certainly a worthy champion. They've been to the finals 6 years in a row, and so our guys know what it takes. And not that we're out to beat Loganville. We want to win the state championship, and we don't play Loganville this week. We play Greenbrier, and we know if we don't beat them, we can't win the state championship. So our guys they've been really focused from day one. They get enough of history lesson from me about our program every day. They probably get sick of hearing it, but I kind of tell them, I say, hey, look, all these teams that have come before us, we're the stewards right now. We're the team of 2023. What are they going to say about our team 10 years from now? I tell them stories about 15. I tell them about Donovan Tate. Donovan Tate hit a single in the state championship game. The left fielder was slow to get it in the infield, and Donovan took second and fired up the whole team. This was in 2008, and we won that game 13-1. And I tell them stories like that, and they probably roll their eyes a bit, but I think some of them are like, I hope Coach tells stories about me like that one day. And, it's funny,
Right.
last week I mentioned a story about a kid making a defensive play. You never know when it's going to happen, but to win a state championship, you've got to make an incredible play at some point. And then lo and behold, Paul Gamble makes that play. So, not saying
Right.
that means we're going to win it, but you got to have those along the way.
Certainly do, coach. And real quick, just out of all the teams you coached, I know a lot of media have said like this might be one of the more talented groups Cartersville has had in a while. But just in your opinion, coach, just you think it's one of the most talented groups that you've coached?
Yeah, they're certainly right up there. I mean, they are. I think it'll show. Down the road when a lot of these guys are playing in college. Well, you'll kind of it'll be names that people will recognize. And so, as far as it being one of the most talented teams, I don't want to be ugly to the people that came before. You mentioned some of those other teams. Our 2002 team had a big leaguer. I think it had like 3 guys that played in the College World Series. They went 33-2. That might have been the most talented Cartersville team ever. I don't know. I guess I'm dancing around your question. Time will tell, I guess.
Gotcha, coach. And then, we mentioned the pitching, we mentioned the defense, but I mean, just like I said, locked in this whole time, right? So, since the quarterfinals, this stat is kind of insane. I thought Canes have produced 5 shutouts in the last 7 games. So, just what's allowed your group to just be locked in defensively and kind of stifle some of those, teams that are really good, batting wise and slugging wise, and can really put pressure on the defense.
We take a lot of pride, Najee, in throwing and catching. That's kind of what we do the first part of every day. And I tell the guys, Alex Bregman that plays for the Houston Astros, talks about he's won state championships in high school. He won the College World Series. He's won the World Series with the Houston Astros. And he says the teams that throw and catch the best win the most. And I think that applies in high school too. You definitely have to score to win. We all know that. But throwing and catching is a huge part of the game. We take a lot of pride in it. And listen, a lot of it is the talent that our pitchers have. We have some talented pitchers, and that certainly helps. But we take pride in playing good defense and pitching the ball well, which is what our opponents, Greenbrier, do this weekend, and everybody left in the tournament does.
Certainly. All right, Coach. 2 more questions. I'll let you go. Talk to me about Greenbrier, Coach. What just stands out to you on film? How are you prepping your group? Obviously got practice going on in a little bit, but how are you prepping your group going into this game? Obviously without revealing too much, but just, how are you prepping your group?
Oh, I mean, we played Greenbrier last year in the quarterfinals, ironically, 3-game series that went down to the last inning. And so wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. Coach Barnes, I know him, great guy, does a great job with his team. And you talk about pitching and playing defense, they pitch and play defense. It's hard to score on them. And then they're averaging almost 9 runs a game. So they obviously know how to swing the bats, run the bases, and score. So, I mean, our work is cut out for us. But, look, in 5A, 8 teams are left. 7 of them are region champions. So, I mean, at this point, everybody's good. Everybody can pitch. Everybody can play defense. Everybody's got a good lineup. So it's who I tell people a lot. When you get to this point, it's the teams that can make pitches when the opponents have people on base, and then can you get hits when you have people on base? Everybody's going to get people on base. How do you react when people are on base? Can you keep the other team from scoring, and can you score when you get those opportunities? And that's usually what it comes down to.
Certainly. And then last question, Coach, just walk me through it. You talked about the state championship kind of experience and, you playing. But how is it coaching, and even as a player? Just walk me through how cool is it going into that stadium knowing that, hey, I got a chance to win a ring, and I'm doing this with my teammates, senior, wherever it may be, and this is my last ride. How cool of an experience is it just to play in the state championship game in baseball?
Oh, it's awesome. It's we've been able to go 2 times in the last 5 years, and we play over in Rome, which is only about a 40-minute drive for us. So we've been fortunate to have really good crowds over there. Been very supportive of our young men, and yeah, I mean it's awesome when you kind of you think about how hard it is to get there. And like I said, I've mentioned the 2 times we've been with me being the head coach. We haven't won it yet. We've lost in 3 games both times. So hopefully I'm not on the way to set some kind of record for state championship losses. Hopefully we can get over there and win this thing one year. But it is awesome. And even when we've lost, I just remind the guys, think about what it took to get there, the region schedule, the playoff run. Don't forget the fun. Yeah, it hurts when you don't win it. But to get there and, you look up and there's a sea of purple, over there in the stadium in Rome. It's a really cool thing, and it's a lot of pride for our school. And it's been awesome, and we hope we get to experience again in about 14 days.
Definitely. Well, Coach, thanks again for coming on the show. Really enjoyed talking to you. Congrats on the newborn as well,
Thanks.
and good luck to the Hurricanes the rest of the way. I'll definitely be watching, and appreciate you and your time.
And ask Coach King who his favorite DB coach is when he gets on here, okay? Put him on the spot, all right?
I got you. I got you. All right, Coach. Have a good one. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. All right, guys. Coach Kyle Tucker, pretty cool guy. Enjoy talking to him. He's developing a great group over there. Can't wait to see how the Hurricanes finish out. Playing Greenbrier again. They played them a couple years ago in the quarterfinals. So really enjoyed talking to him. Got a great group, very talented. I mean, again, if you guys didn't see that catch, go back, roll the clip early in the show when I asked him about it. I mean, incredible. Loses his glove, has to make a play. Paul Gamble, the starting quarterback, barehands it, catches it, and saves the out. So shout out to him in that big play, and shout out to Kyle Tucker and obviously Cartersville. But before we bring on the next guest, we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you guys on the other side before we talk to the head coach for Carrollton, Joey King.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, guys, we're back. So again, I was head coach for Cartersville, Kyle Tucker, head coach for Carrollton. Joey King will be joining us in just a second. They had a phenomenal season last year. Before we bring them on, 14-1. They had a true freshman starting. Guy had a bunch of buzz. Julian Lewis, flat out balled out, 4,000 plus yards passing, 40 plus touchdowns. He really stepped up big for the Carrollton Trojans, and they were a team that had some pretty big wins, right? So they went back and forth with Mill Creek throughout the game in the state title game. They also had a win on the road in a tough environment against Colquitt, a team that hadn't lost all season. They were 13-0 going into that game. They go in that game, they get the victory. Bryce Hicks was a big part of it. 200 plus yards rushing, 37 plus carries. Had a phenomenal game. So just want to talk to him, find out more about their team, what they got going as far as their spring. I seen me and Craig talked about their schedule and Underrated Overlook podcast this past week, but just want to get a little more insight from him as they go into spring and get ready for the off season. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. So, great season last year, Coach. You guys made it all the way to the state championship game. I mean, you guys were going back and forth with a very, very talented team. Julian Lewis didn't miss a beat. Bryce Hicks didn't miss a beat. Caleb Odom was awesome. Just, in your mind, in your opinion, how do you guys get back to that place next year and back in there contending for another title?
I mean, there's a lot of factors that factor into playing for a championship. I mean, your players got to stay healthy. They got to know what to do, and sometimes the dominoes got to fall in the right way. I mean, we're working hard toward it right now. Obviously, that's our goal, but anybody that's coach knows it's a long road to hoe trying to get back to that title game. But we're gonna try to be there.
Yes, sir. And then let's talk about the defensive side of the ball. Last year it was good for you, but just, what are you expecting from that side of the ball? Just what have been some players in, camp and then off-season, weight training that's just kind of impressed you on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, we were young on that side of the ball, and we're undersized anyhow. Our players aren't as big as some of the other guys, so we got to make sure we maximize what we have on that side of the football. Off-season wise, I mean, our two inside backers are really, really good football players, Montrez Smith and Brody Bradburn. They'll be 3-year starters inside for us. So those guys are they're leading that defensive unit. We got Kelvin Hill, Jaden Thompson, Keyshawn Johnson, all seniors back in the secondary. And then Jay Hagan stepping up and doing a good job at corner for us right now. So we got a lot of guys stepping up, but it takes every one of them. But they take a lot of pride in playing hard and getting to the football, and so far having a pretty good spring.
Yes, sir. And then real quick, one more question about the defense. Just how you feel about your defensive line, just the interior, your two nose tackles, and then on the edge as well. How you feel about them?
Yeah. I mean, we've got some guys. We've got a returning nose guard coming back. That was an all-region player as a sophomore. He just finished 4th in the country in his weight division in wrestling. He wrestled in a tournament in Las Vegas this past weekend. And Jacob Levy, he's a tough kid, really good football player, athletic enough to play linebacker. So we got him anchoring down the middle of the defense, and then the other guys coming back. They do a tremendous job of what they got, and that's what we got to do here is we got to make sure that we're maximizing the potential that our guys have, even though we're undersized. We're going to move around and shift and try to create an advantage with those kind of things. But those guys are doing good, and then we've got to replace 2 senior outside linebackers. We graduated 2 guys, and we got several guys in the mix for that right now.
Yes, sir. And let's talk a little bit about your youngsters. I'm going to move to the offensive side of the ball now. Zion Cooley, he just received a UAB offer. Just obviously, I know Caleb Odom is a big part of that offense, but just what do you expect for him being a rising junior? He was a sophomore last year, kind of getting acquainted with that offense, and what role do you expect him to kind of play this season?
Yeah, Zion is a young man that's got a lot of potential. He's a long kid. He's a hurdler. He can backflip. He's still working on figuring out football. We got Jordan White coming back as our starting tight end. he's got several group of 5 offers and FCS offers as a returning starter at tight end. So Zion's just kind of trying to learn, and he made a couple of big plays at practice the other day and flashed some potential. And those coaches that were there, they really liked that, so they went ahead and offered him. But Jordan White is our returning starter at tight end, and then we got Caleb Odom obviously, and several other receivers that have played. And I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, you can't talk about our offense without talking about our quarterback and our running back. Man, that's
Definitely.
those are two talented, very talented young men. Juju's really maturing, becoming a leader of this team, and doing a great job, continuing to work on his craft and not being settled with where he's at. And then Bryce Hicks, I tell people all the time, I think Bryce Hicks is our best football player. He can play. He can play offensive guard if you ask him to, but he can play anywhere on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, he can play running back, receiver. He's just a dude. So we think really highly of him.
And I'm glad you brought up those two. I wanted to talk a little bit more about those two. First, I want to talk about kind of your history before coming to Carrollton, right? You were at Cartersville. You was there for, a couple of years. You got to coach Trevor Lawrence, right? And then you said coming in, like Julian Lewis, he's, maturing. He's being a leader. He's not being settled with where he's at. So what kind of approach do you take, coaching like those star quarterbacks coming out? Because Trevor was great. We see where he's at now. He's in the NFL. And now you're coaching Julian Lewis, who obviously has that potential as well. But just what are some things you try to coach up with them individually?
Yeah, we had MJ Morris my first year here, and he went to NC State and played as a true freshman at NC State. We just try to prepare him as best we can. We probably coach those guys a little bit harder than we coach anybody else. Luckily for us, all of those guys have mentally been able to handle a lot. Our offense is dependent upon what those guys can process. And we've been very fortunate enough to have a lot that can process a whole lot. But we just try to push them every day to be the best version of themselves that they can be. All of those young men are extremely talented, and we want them to be the best that they can be each and every day, and embrace being a competitor versus who they were yesterday. And that's something that every one of them has taken seriously, and Julian is no exception. He's doing the same thing.
Definitely. And I want to talk about Bryce Hicks. You've mentioned, I've talked to you a couple of times about him, and you said he's your best player. And as you said, he could play receiver, slot, running back, wherever you want to line him up, just a dude. But how surreal and how cool of a feeling it was being able to see him get that recognition towards the end of the season last year, right? Being on a top 10 list for Scoreland, and being on Max Prep's national list for the juniors, right? Being able to get those offers starting to come in. How cool of a moment was that for a phenomenal player, but doesn't necessarily get the recognition because he might be a little undersized? But how cool was that for you to be able to see it as a coach?
And it's favorite young man on the team too, and very deserving of everything that has come his way. But he got on that. Him and Caleb Odom were both on the Max Preps Junior All-American team, and to just see that recognition that a lot of people are giving him, it's duly noted. I mean, he's definitely deserving. Every time one of the TV stations comes and covers a game, he ends up being the player of the game.
Literally.
Week in and week out, So he's very deserving. I think he can play anywhere. I know some people are hesitant about his size, but I'm telling you, I tell everybody that comes through here, and we've had, I think, 16, 17 schools come through today. If you don't recruit him, you're going to have to coach against him one day, and that ain't going to be fun. So.
Right. Definitely not. He's gonna abuse you. So hopefully they'll be able to see that. He's a very talented kid. But I want to talk one more personal offense. Caleb Odom, right? You mentioned your starting tight end was Jordan White, but what kind of impact does this Caleb Odom have on your offense? What makes him such a tough cover? It seems like he's just always open offensively and kind of that kind of go-to weapon for Julian on offense.
Yeah, I think several things make Caleb special. One is the first thing you see when you see him, right, is his obvious size. He's just a shade under 6'6", 215, 218 pounds, somewhere in that window. So he's a size matchup. But I think people don't really understand how well Caleb can run. To be that big, he covers a lot of ground, but he covers it really fast. He may not look like he's running fast, but that stride's really, really long. And he's very athletic with a ball in his hand. I got to watch him play basketball this year, and that joker's really good on the basketball court and tried to tear the rim off the goal, during the game. But he's just a special athlete, and I still think his ceiling is – we're not even close to what he can end up being. Very, very raw as a football player. Has made huge strides this offseason, so I'm looking forward to seeing him reap the benefit of the hard work that he's put in once the season gets here.
Definitely. And then, obviously, a high-scoring attack last year. Offensively, I mean, you guys played great all season long. Just, what are you expecting from that side of the ball this year? What are some things you want them to kind of hone in on and improve just to kind of reach that full ceiling, that full potential for the Carrollton offense?
Yeah, I just want everybody to be the best version of themselves that they can be. We scored a bunch of touchdowns last year, but last year's touchdowns don't win this year's games. None of that stuff in the past matters. It's all about them being the best version of themselves going forward. And I think we've made some really big strides in the weight room this off season. And as far as team chemistry goes too, these guys are bought into the system. They love each other and fight for each other. So again, I'm excited. Excited for the season, but definitely looking forward to the summer. We ain't quite ready yet, but we're making strides.
Yes, sir, for sure. And one more question about a player, Keyshawn Cofer, right? I know he was a part of the offense last year. I know he was a sophomore. Probably have a bigger role. Just what are you expecting from him this season? What have you liked that he's done in off-season and weight training and kind of preparing for the spring as well?
Yeah, Kyan is a really explosive player. He had an ankle injury in the middle of the season, so he didn't quite put up the numbers that he's capable of. But I mean, we saw he scored in the semifinals, scored in the championship game. He's got a lot of potential. He's a very twitchy athlete. He's gotten bigger, and I mean, he looks the part for sure of a slot receiver. So definitely excited to see what he can do with our offense and as well in our return game. He's a very explosive returner from a special team standpoint too.
Yes, sir. And then on the other side of the ball, you mentioned Kelvin Hill. We got to see him in person in our game. You guys played Coweta. That was the GSSA Drive for State title. I forget what week that was, but I know that was a region battle. He had a multi-interception game. Just, what makes him so different and kind of that ball hawk on your defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, Kelvin. I mean, we have said many times here that he's got that dog mentality. Over there as a defensive back, he'll come up and hit you, and he's got really good cover skills as well. So, I mean, he checks the boxes from a DB standpoint because he can cover and he can tackle. Sometimes you get a guy that can cover and sometimes you get a guy that can tackle. But fortunate for us, he can do both of those. He understands what we're trying to do schematically and helps get us lined up. And has had a pretty good offseason so far. He's picked up a couple offers as well. And again, he's continuing to progress for us at corner.
Definitely. And then, Coach, how did your senior classes look this year in the upcoming 2024 class? How many are you expecting to graduate? How many kind of returning starters you got coming back as well?
Yeah. Oh, man. We've got, we lost four guys on the defensive side of the ball and 4 or 5 guys on the offensive side of the ball. And, we're filling some holes with some seniors. Our rising senior class is a pretty strong class. Our rising sophomore class that Julian is in is a pretty strong class. And then our numbers at the junior high are looking pretty good right now, too. So we're definitely excited about the future of Trojan football.
Yes, sir. And then let's talk about spring now, spring practice. I'm pretty sure it started. Correct me if I'm wrong if it has or hasn't started for the Trojans. And then will you guys have an opponent this year? And then when can we expect spring practice to be over for you guys? Just kind of give me a timeline of how it looks for the Trojans.
Yeah. We started this past Monday morning. We practice at 5:55 in the morning. So we got a lot of guys getting out of bed early and getting here, sacrificing a lot to be here. So we go Monday and Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then next week we go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday because we got a lot of guys that'll be competing in the state championship track meet. We've still got a lot of guys that do track around here, which is outstanding. Our track program has traditionally been a powerhouse as well. And then we'll finish up the next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think we'll finish up on Wednesday. But we don't play a spring game or anything like that. My personal belief and opinion, all these spring games, you get caught up in scheme, trying to scheme and beat an opponent. And I want us to be good at blocking and tackling and running to the football. So we're going to try to focus on the little things that make good football teams good football teams.
Yes, sir. Well, a couple more questions, Coach, and I'll let you go. One big matchup coming up for the season. I don't want to look too far ahead, but just, how did it come to be, that matchup against Langston Hughes in the Freedom Bowl? How excited are you for your guys to play against a team that won it all in 6A classification, have a great quarterback, and then just tell me how everything came together with that matchup?
Yeah. So, we were supposed to play in the Freedom Bowl, and I think we were going to play an out-of-state opponent, and really and truly, it kind of took a while for that to happen. And these people around here hounding me about a schedule and getting a schedule out. So Langston Hughes and us actually pulled out of that. We're going to play here We're going to just play here, play each other. Initially we're supposed to play some team out of state and couldn't get it worked out, so we decided to play each other here at our place. So we're going to play at Grisham Stadium on August the 18th, and that's a huge test for us straight out of the gate. They got a lot of guys back. We do too, but they've got some dudes, and they do a great job. Coach Williams, I respect the heck out of him, and he and I just kind of got on the phone and decided to do it as a big matchup, and it's definitely a big one, but we're looking forward to it, and I know they are too.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, like you said, talent all over the field, both sides of the ball, incredible quarterbacks who definitely gonna play D1 on the next level. I mean, yeah, that's a popcorn matchup. If we didn't have a Great Atlanta Bash, I think that'd be a matchup we definitely try to televise. But I'm gonna definitely stay noted for that one. That would be a good one. But last question, Coach. You play Rome. Just how did that matchup come to be? I know you guys didn't play them last year, but how did you work that out with their head coach? And then how excited are you to go to Rome Barron Stadium and be able to compete against the Wolves?
Oh yeah, they got a lot of talent too. We played. They were in our region 2 years ago, and we played them last year. Actually, they came to our place. The way that was set up as a non-region game, I think we split with them. The year before I got here, I think we beat them, and in my first year, they beat us at Barron Stadium. And I know Coach Reed and the talent that they have up there. We wanted to make sure that we were playing some quality non-conference opponents. So it just made sense for us to continue the rivalry because the crowd show up on both sides of that deal. The gate's good. The concession stands are good. So we're trying to make a little money and play some stiff competition as well.
Definitely. And then someone told me to ask you, who is your favorite DB coach?
Kyle Tucker's probably at the bottom of that list. I've had some really good ones. He's a good baseball coach, but I'm just kidding. I love coaching that guy. Man, he was fun to coach with. I'm super proud to see his success as a head baseball coach, and wish those guys the best over there as they continue to play.
Yes, sir. Certainly. Yeah, he told me to ask you before I let you go for today, so I had to bring that up. But definitely a lot of fun. Thank you, Coach, for just taking this time to do this interview. Go Trojans. Good luck the rest of the way in the spring and then in the summer, and hopefully we'll see you guys on TV for one of the games this upcoming season.
Yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, guys. So head coach for the Carrollton Trojans. Again, I mean, that matchup, as me and Craig talked about, Underrated and Overlooked podcast. That one, get your popcorn ready, get your fireworks ready, man. I mean, if we weren't doing the Great Atlanta Bash, that definitely would be a game on our list. Prentice Aaron Nolan, JoJo Stone, Amir Glenn on Langston Hughes' side, a great, phenomenal coach, one of the first title in state history. Aaron Nolan's going to Ohio State. Guy that's, definitely I think could play on the next level, and I don't mean college level. I mean possibly even NFL if he plays good and continues to grow. And then you got Julian Lewis, freshman, lived up to the hype, exceeded the hype, I think, in a lot of people's minds. Got major victories, beat Walton team that was coming off one of the big major upsets in the past couple decades against Buford. They beat them, handled them well, scored 52 against them, well on the road, beat a good Colquitt team. They had Landon Thomas, Naquavius Carr, team that hadn't lost all season long. So, I mean, that's a matchup, man, that is going to be incredible. If you can't go see it at Carrollton, that'll be a great game between both of those teams. Two teams with, again, championship aspirations. So that will be a lot of fun. But we're going to take one more quick break, conclude the show. A lot to get into as far as my recruiting, as far as different sports in spring coming down to a close. And as far as tail of the tape as well. So we're going to take one more quick break, see you on the other side, and finish the show.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, guys, so we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed the first part of the show. Two phenomenal guests, teams that are on both sides, baseball, Cartersville, championship aspirations, phenomenal group, very talented, and as well as Carrollton. But let's go ahead and get into a quick tell of the tape with Bryce Parker, Lassiter, linebacker. Had a great season last year. We're starting for them. And I'm just talking about things that stood out to me. A couple things you can work on and some great things he has going for himself as he tries to take a more elevated role next year. But let's go ahead and roll the tape. All right, guys, so here he is in the middle of the field. Come downhill, Right here, good stick right here. Put the running back right there in his tracks. Don't allow him to get any more yardage. One thing I can say, I've seen a couple clips of his film. He has very good anticipation. Right here, good job anticipating the play, getting the tackle. What I'm going to point out here, though, is this is what's going to take him to the next level, right? So obviously he reads the play well, but he got to be able to go and stick it a little bit early. So right here, boom, linebacker gets the ball. Boom, running back gets the ball. Boom, stick him right there. So don't allow him to get to where you are, but go and lay the hit and be able to stock him in his tracks. I think that would be able to take him to his next level. Right here, they're going to run a stunt. He's going to come down right there in the middle of the field. Boom, good stick right there. Not allow him to really go anywhere. Phenomenal play. Here we go again. Middle of the field. He's going to see it. He's going to run down the quarterback. So another thing I like, too, he's able to run him down, be able to get to where they are, not allow the touchdown. Great hustle play right there from Parker. Here we go again. Big play right here. He's going to see it, read it, come in, get the tackle, now allow the first down. Big play right there for him. Here he goes again. Good anticipation. Good tackle right there, not allow first down as well. All right here he's going to see it, read it really good, get the tackle, sure tackler, wrap up really good, not allow any more yardage. Very good play right there for him. Here he goes again. Good anticipation. Boom, here he comes. So good hit. Like I said, if he can be able to stick it a little bit more, lay it down a little bit better, he'll be good. This was a great play. It's a big play for the opposing offense. He's going to come around, get the tackle, not allow a big play right here. Phenomenal play. Right here, it's going to be a forced fumble. Good job looking at the ball. Boom, creating a turnover right here. Bang, here it is. Big play for his defense. They are on the other side of the field. So big play right here for Bryce Parker. Great job right there. But what I will say, he does have some good, impressive film. Great anticipation. Again, I give his anticipation an A. He does a great job being a sure tackler, wrapping you up, not letting you go, pass. But the big thing next year, if I had to say for him to work on, just work on being able to get the stick a little bit faster because he anticipates the play so well, right? So once you see it, go attack. That's the biggest thing I say with Bryce. Just go attack. If he goes and he attacks the play, gets in there early, he can get more TFLs. He can be more disruptive. He can create more turnovers. So that's the big thing. Obviously, his coach is going to coach him on that and, sure tackler and things like that. But if he can create more turnovers, more fumbles, and things like that, more TFLs, he can really have an even bigger impact, for Lassiter. But A for anticipation. I give him a solid B+ for his tackling ability, but just take this game to the next level, get a couple more offers coming in, just being able to attack the play. As soon as you see it develop and you see the running back has the ball, go attack him, lay the hit, now allow him to get extra yards. And then seeing if, his coach, obviously, if he can get a little bit more, rushing in there, I think he would be good. As a player kind of that you can use, rushing the quarterback, creating pressures, and things like that. The biggest thing with him being a little more disruptive. If he could be more disruptive, I think that would go a long way in his high school career and getting a little bit more notice and being able to play on the next level, whatever that may be, D1, D2, D3, NAIA. But great film, but that's my biggest standouts to me and what I think. But let's keep going. We got more to talk about today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So lacrosse playoffs, right? Fellowship Christian girls Lax continue their phenomenal run. They're 17-3 on the year. They advanced past a really good Stars Mill team. Fellowship Christian has scored in double figures in 5 of the last 7 games. So phenomenal play from Fellowship Christian. Really impressed me this season. And then we got some major results. We got to talk about this, guys. Alatoona pulls off a massive upset. They trailed 3-0 to start the gate. Then they trailed 5-2. They upset Blessed Trinity. Blessed Trinity was my number 1 in 5A, 6A the whole season. They come in there, get the win. Oral Rogers kept them in the game early with a couple of goals, continued to battle and stay level-headed, put a lot of pressure on Blessed Trinity's defense who didn't have really any answers. Braden Smith gave them a big lead in the fourth quarter with a goal. They were up 12-11 late. A couple minutes left. Alatoona wins it 13-12, beat one of the best teams in the state. I think they are nationally ranked too. Blessed Trinity is on max preps as well. So that was only Blessed Trinity's second loss of the season, and both of the losses only came by a point all year long. So incredible win on the road for Alatoona. Shout out to them. Then Roswell, we're going to roll the clip on this as well. Craig, you don't have to put me in the clip. You could just roll the clip itself. But Roswell, they beat Pope 17-9. We had on head coach Brian Mitchellak earlier in the season, right before I think they hit their final game of the season. And when I say this team is deep offensively, and they have multiple All-Americans on the team. I'm going to reveal that a little bit later in my top 10 headlines, who made the All-American list. Their offense is very tough to stop. They have a lot of a really good fluidity to the offense, I would say, and I don't really see the offense being stopped. So let's roll the tape. We're just gonna roll the clip, and I'll respond on the other side. All right, guys. So that was Roswell beating Pope in that game. I mean, if you go look back at the clip, the level of difficulty, right? That last goal, Ezra Moore. I mean, he's coming off the left side, no really clear shot, but just goes, boom, throws the ball in right in the goal. I mean, the degree of difficulty on that was very, very high. Then you go back to the first clip. I mean, the move that Hill Plunkett put on the defender, just kind of, oh, hesitation, boom, I'm going. And then that kind of move is what separates them, why they're so great, why I think Roswell will be there when it's said and done, competing and contending for a state championship. So phenomenal win for them, beating Pope 17-9. Their offense has been on another level, and they continue to show why they are top tier. Then Buford beat region rival North Gwinnett 14-6. This is their second time beating them this season. Both wins were coming by double figures. Average margin of victory of 9.5. Phenomenal win for Buford. They continue rolling on. They have punched their ticket to the semifinals. Marist defeated Centennial 10-9. It was a game that was really controlled by Centennial throughout. Centennial led 5-3 at the break. Defense did a really good job of stifling the attack of Marist. Marist then goes out, scores 7 of their goals in the second half. Really got it going in the fourth quarter. Five of the 7 goals they scored in the second half came in the fourth quarter. They outscored Centennial 5-2 in the final period. That really made the difference in the game. Shout out to Marist for their big win against Centennial. A very back and forth game, but they were able to pull it out. Other scores: Lambert defeats Harrison, punches their ticket again to the semifinals 10-3. West Forsyth continues their very impressive season with a top 10 win against North Paulding 10-7. Coach John Layden again won Region Coach of the Year. They're having a phenomenal season. Stars Mills defeats Kings Ridge 10-4, and then Cambridge defeats Lassiter 11-1. On the girls' side, Blessed Trinity defeats Alpharetta 17-10. Blessed Trinity now has scored 15 or more goals in 4 consecutive games. You heard that right. 4 consecutive games have scored 15 or more goals. Blessed Trinity really got it going right now. Offense has made it tough for opposing teams. Alpharetta had a very impressive season. They were, I think, were as high as number 2 in my AJC rankings this past season. They were 12-1 at one point. So big shout out to the program. Just came a little bit short. Blessed Trinity is a phenomenal team, but that was a really good game. Pace Academy, this is another surpriser. They've had a great season as well, but they defeated Columbus 14-8. Columbus was great all year, right? They were 18-1. 18-2 now, but 2 great teams who had phenomenal seasons. Both teams combined for just 2 losses all season coming to this game. For Columbus, senior Vivian Rayfield, she played her heart out. She accounted for 3 points, scored 3 goals in this game, 3 shots on goal, converted all her chances. She let it all on the field. The key in this game, and the key statistics to think about, guys, is the shots on goal for Pace Academy and their efficiency. So of the 18 shots that they shot on goal, 14, yes, 14 of them were on goal, right? So 18 shots, 14 on goal. So basically that means out of the 18 shots that they shot, 77% of the shots they shot were in or near the goal. So incredible. Their pressure, their pace was pivotal in this game, and they played magnificent. That was the key in the game. The shots they got, and not only just, sometimes you'll see it in soccer too, to do it as a quick comparison, right? You'll see a team that has 11 shots, but only 3 were on goal. So that means the other shots were all over the place. But the efficiency that they shot, the pace that they had was really the key difference in the game. And for them to convert over 77% of the shots they took just shows how great Pace Academy played in that one. Other scores on the girls' side, number 1, Milton keeps rolling, 20-5 victory against Cherokee. Again, Milton is one of the winningest and most storied programs in state history. I think of the, 18 championships in, I think it's 18. When did they start? 2004, 2005. of the 18, I think Milton's won like 14 of them. So they're a storied program. They play some of the best teams in the country. They took a trip earlier this year to play top teams in Virginia and Baltimore. So they're next level. But keeping it going, Roswell looking like the team to beat in 5A, 6A. They get a 16-8 win against River Ridge. They continue on with their great season. Johns Creek's incredible and historic season unfortunately comes to a close after a 9-5 defeat for Creekview. This game was tied 3-3 at halftime. They got outscored 6-2 in the second half. Creekview just got it going. But I want to shout out the Johns Creek program and head coach Stephanie Matthewson. She did a great job. Their first ever playoff appearance. They got pretty far to the quarterfinals. So I'm sure she'll have a lot she can build on from the season and continue to teach and show her girls going forward. So shout out to them. And then West Forsyth defeated Hillgrove 11-8. And North Paulding knocks out Lambert with a 12-7 victory. All right, guys. So that is lacrosse news. I will reveal by this time next week, because I think they're going to do they're finishing up quarters now. Semifinals start Monday, May 8th through the 10th, and then the championships are next weekend. So by the time I do the show again next week, I'll be recapping the semifinals, looking ahead to the state championship games. So keeping it going, soccer state championship games to watch for. Major key here. Johnson undefeated right now, 20-0 on the boys' side against Westminster. We had on Coach Scott Snyder earlier in the season. And as he said, they really preach defense. Like, you're not going to play for him if you don't play defense. But I think they got a good match in the state championship game. Westminster, as I said earlier, they're one of the most storied programs in the state. They have a combined 29 state championships, 15 from the boys, 14 from the girls. And they just playing a great brand of soccer right now. This is a different challenge, though, in its entirety. Westminster has the resume. They've played some of the top teams in the country, but Johnson is undefeated from Gainesville, so their offense is also really good this season. I think it'll be an interesting chess match between both of the coaches and both of the teams. I really do like the adaptability of Coach Snyder and how some of his players have bought into the system. He had a player earlier in the season that played defense that had to transition to offense, fit into the role well, really put some pressure on defense. So I just like the ability of those players to kind of switch where they're going and still be able to have high productivity. I think that is key for the team. So I'm going to predict a Westminster win. I think it will be competitive both sides. I'm going to say a 3-2 victory for Westminster. I think Coach Snyder, they get another state championship title, but I think it will be back and forth. I think it's going to come down to the end, probably in the 80th, 90th minute, something like that. Westminster gets a very huge goal, and they win the state championship. And then shout out to the girls program. They've won a state championship every year since 2015. The Westminster girls accounting for 7 consecutive championships. So shout out to them. And then also in other news, 4 Wesleyan players on the girls side for soccer were named all-region. Lainey Jerding, Laura Edge, Anna Sparks, and then Katie Triplett. So shout out to them and their phenomenal play. And then the other game to watch out for is Chamblee girls soccer versus Greenbrier in the state championship. Chamblee is looking to win their first championship in their school history. Chamblee is led by Salai Washington. She's averaging 2 goals a game. She has 38 goals and 7 assists. And then Cara Kroon has 26 goals and 5 assists. Greenbrier is undefeated this season at 19-0. Both teams can soar with some of the best of them. Expect a highly competitive match between both of these teams. And they're going to play tonight. I think it's going to be a great matchup between both, and then expected to be kind of high scoring as well. But good luck to Chamblee as they try to win their first ever state championship. So that's all I got for far as spring sports. Obviously, baseball is going to take place this week. I talked to the head coach, obviously Kyle Tucker, earlier, but they got a matchup this weekend. They're going to play against Greenbrier, other major matchups as well. I'll break down it more next week and kind of talk more about those matchups, but it will be very, very intriguing. But let's go to one of my favorite segments, not my top 10 headlines, but the new one I debuted last week. Latest in the recruiting with Najeh Wilk. No clips, no tweets, nothing like that. But Cal receiver Kyle Vaca, this is breaking news. He just received another offer, Austin, PA, announced it about 30 to 45 minutes ago. Shout out to him. Cal receiver continues to blow up in the recruiting world. Before that, earlier in the week, he received a Georgia Southern offer. So, as I told Craig, he will be a 3-star before the season's over, or maybe before it even starts. But he continues to blow up in recruiting and has a phenomenal tape. He'll be just fine. He'll have a lot of offers and places he can go to. He's got to continue to have a good senior season, which I believe he will, being a big focal point of that Cal offense, along with Peyton Zachary and Bryce Clavin. Watch out for Kyle next year. Want to give credit where credit is due. Now, this is really interesting. I got two guys for you, right? They play for Douglas County. And as I've been saying, and I'm going to continue to say, I don't know if he watches my show, but I've interviewed him. I've broke down his tape. Sire Hardaway, all he needs is one good season, and his recruiting will take off. That's all Sire needs, right? He got two guys that's going to be playing for him this season that are young. Obviously, Sire will be a senior this year. But I want you to listen to these offers. So, Douglas County athlete James Johnson, who was a sophomore last season, played along with Deuce Alexander, um, Monte Gooden last season. He just received a Georgia offer. That's huge. Okay, 2025 class just received a Georgia offer. He will be a part of that dynamic passing attack for Douglas County. A Georgia offer. This is the two-time defending state champions now. Okay, so he just received a Georgia offer. Then you got 2026 Douglas County athlete Aaron Gregory, who really impressed in the camp, which we're going to talk about in just a second. He will be a sophomore. He's just a freshman right now, be a rising sophomore. And I might have to talk to Coach Johnny White from Douglas County before the season starts and learn a little bit more about these athletes for him. Obviously, I know about James Johnson, but I definitely need to know more about Aaron Gregory. But key note about Gregory, went to the UA next football camp in Orlando. He was named the On-3 MVP after a strong showing and subsequently picked up a big offer. So now he has offers from Georgia, I believe Alabama, and I think South Carolina. So the key note there is that offense, once again, you thought that offense was something special last year. That offense is going to be something to watch for next season. And obviously the region is tough. They're going to have South Paulding in there. Langston Hughes is going to be in there. Noonan's going to be in there. But you give another year, and I hope he stays healthy, Sire Hardaway. With those kind of weapons, with Aaron Gregory and James Johnson, who blowing up right now, look out. That offense is going to be something special, and it's going to be something to behold. And at one point in the season last year, Sire Hardaway was number 3 in the state in passing yards, and he was throwing it very efficiently as well, 75% completion percentage. So I'm curious to see how Douglas County is going to look. Hopefully this season we get to see them again in person on TV. Will be interesting to see. But those two are some major, major offers for those athletes. So watch out for them next year. Continue going with the recruiting. Highly touted and heavily recruited 2026 class offensive lineman Bear McWhorter just received an Alabama offer. So that's big, right? He started last year as a true freshman. He's continuing to pick up the offers. He has other major offers, but to land Alabama with Nick Saban, that's huge. So he will be another pivotal piece for the offense for Cass going into next season. That is major key for him. He's going to have so many options of where he wants to go. I seen him in person last year. I didn't really get to look and eye his game as I wanted to. We obviously had him in our Carkey Kell, but I was more so on the sideline with the phone, kind of, following the plays. But I can't wait to be able to break it down and be able to look at him more in depth this season, look how he looks. And obviously his brother, Brody, he's a quarterback for them. He's going to be big for them and how successful they're going to be next year. They got talent all over the field. You got athlete Devin Henderson. You got Sokovia White's going to Georgia. So I can't wait to see how that team is going to look. They're going to get some good tests early. I think they play Milton for the spring game. They got a fall scrimmage, I believe, and another tough team. They got to play Rome to start the season. They're going to get tested early and often. They're going to be so interesting to watch next season. Just so interesting. And then I told Craig this over the weekend. I ran into him. This is Sammy Brown's dad. I don't know his name, but I'm just calling him Sammy Brown's dad. And interestingly enough, his son plays for Team Georgia Elite. It's a 707 team. He plays pretty good too. I don't know if he'll be good as his brother, but he plays pretty good too. And the interesting thing is, one of his friends, Heaven Brownschuler, just committed to Clemson. He's trying to get him to go to Clemson. But get this, guys. His dad is a fan of the Clemson Tigers. Was wearing a shirt even when I seen him at the park. So, if that doesn't tell you, potentially, I'm not saying he's going to go there, but he's being heavily recruited. He's power cleaning 405. He's squatting 300-plus pounds. If his dad's wearing that Clemson Tiger shirt, it makes you think, okay, well, and they're kind of top on this list. All I'm going to say, I'm not going to say he's going there. Don't be surprised, though, if Sammy Brown goes there. Okay? His dad, kind of has a little relationship with him. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. He's obviously one of the top players in the state, in the country even. I think he's number 5 in the country. Top player in the state. Keep your eye on Clemson going forward. He might even commit before the season even starts. But keep your eye on that. That's going to be very intriguing. I didn't have a deep conversation with him, but I thought that was very, very intriguing. So keep your mind on that. I think that would be interesting to see. I think he will go to Clemson. That's just my prediction. Could be wrong, but keep your eye on that. All right, let's keep going. Basketball, before we wrap for that. Cal big man Peyton Marshall picked up a University of Xavier offer. We mentioned last week he picked up a major Georgia Tech offer from Damon Stoudemire. He continues to pick it up. His recruiting is wide open. We'll see what happens with him. But he's continuing to rack him in prior to his senior season. So that would be interesting. And then to conclude the show, another major offer, Cameron Herring, right? She plays for Woodward Academy, young guard. Dad, if you're watching, this was the player we seen, not the other one, but when we went to the Lovejoy game, we got to see her play. It was a young guard. It was like, yo, she has a nice handle. Yeah, she just got offered from the University of Kentucky. So that's major key. She's only a sophomore. She will be a rising junior next season. She will be a focal point of that offense, I think, going into next year. They graduated their senior, who's going off. I think she's going to Howard. So she will be another focal point for that offense, for their head coach. Watch out for her next season. We got to see her in person, and I love her game, right? She has a silky smooth dribble. She's able to create separation. She can finish well around the basket. She can involve her teammates. She don't get frustrated. She's very, very good. So we'll see. But major offer for Cameron Herring, who plays for Woodward Academy. She just landed a University of Kentucky offer. Shout out to her. All right, guys. So let's wrap up the show. It is about that time. My favorite part of the show. That was like one of my favorites, my recruiting news. But this is my favorite. Top 10 headlines for the weekend. Let's get into it. Norcross versus Buford. They're going to play in a spring game May 12th. That would be very, very intriguing between both of those teams. Norcross last year, I think they finished either in the second round or quarterfinals. They're looking to get back on track. Storied program, great history. They're playing Buford. Buford is a team that's very talented. Bryce Perry Wright, who picked up another offer this week, Penn State. He's blowing up too in recruiting. He's going to be a big part of their team. Sophomore, Edric Houston, he's a five-star athlete. Five-star edge defensive lineman. They got KJ Bolden, the top player in the country too. I think he's number 2 or number 3 in the state. So that's going to be an interesting match between both of the teams. Obviously, it's a little test run, see where they're at, see how they can get better. But that would be some fireworks between both of those teams. Great spring game. If you can't, or if you're bored next weekend, definitely go check it out. And then, as I mentioned, 2 Georgia schools featured in the Broward County Showcase, right? Peep this. Milton is going to play Western from Davie, Florida. And then you have Cedar Grove is going to play Monarch. Both Georgia teams, this is a top classic in the nation. Broward County and Florida, they're both playing in the showcase. Major key. I think I'm going to try to talk to Coach Ben Reeves next week, get a pulse for the team, find out, all those transfers they had coming in, how Luke Nichols is going to take the next step next season. He's phenomenal, picked up major offers, how that group is going to look next year. That is a major showcase for both of those teams. So look out for that. Can't wait to see Milton in action. I think they got a spring game coming up against Cass, as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show. Look out for that. That's number 2. Number 3, Slide County, Carson Westbrook, selected to the Region Offensive Player of the Year for basketball. Also plays baseball. He had a phenomenal season last year. Expect for him to continue to get better and better. Phenomenal year for Carson Westbrook. Shout out to him. And then 4-star combo guard, Shakari Harris, played for Grayson, 16 points per game, I think 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He was named Boys Basketball Player of the Year. Shout out to him. Can't wait to see how that team looks next year, along with Jakari Harris. We'll see if Colin Fox still continues to play. I know his commitment's coming up pretty soon here. Amir Taylor, sophomore big man. He will be a junior next year. Curious to see how he's going to continue to look going into next season. Had a great year. That's going to be a team to watch out for as well. Number 5, Cherokee Bluff and Davidson commit. Turned out a good game the other night. He had an 85 to 87 miles per hour fastball, a great seeking curveball that was 81 miles per hour. Cherokee Bluff's the team in baseball, continue to have a phenomenal season. Number 6, Hiram Lady Hornets basketball team. Playing on the next level, we got Cameron O'Neal. She's going to Fort Valley State. We got Janiah Evans. She's going to Albany Tech. Michaela Bullock. She's going to Catawba Valley. Kalisha Phillips, she's going to McLennan Community College. Hiram had a really good season last year. They were 22-6, made it all the way to the second round. They just faced a behemoth in a superstar and Crystal Henderson, who's going to go play on the next level. And the Kel Longhurst team that won it all. Phenomenal group. So shout out to those girls being able to play on the next level. And then volleyball season is very near. It is among us. Tryouts next season for Gainesville volleyball is next Tuesday, May 9th and May 11th. So volleyball is right around the corner. That's a sport obviously I'll be covering as well going into next season. So that is upon us. Not too far left for that as well. Number 8, Fellowship Christian. As I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, Lady Paladins defeated Stars Mill to advance to the Final Four of the state playoffs to tie the school record for 17 wins on the soccer side. They're having a great season. Wanting to give them a shout out on the show. They are playing magnificent. And in another news, this is the NFL news. Former Brookwood defensive back Kendall Williamson. He went to Stanford University. He was just drafted by the Chicago Bears in the 2023 NFL draft. Congrats to Williamson. Hope he's able to play and get a contract on the next level and continue to show how good he is. Shout out to him. It is not easy to make the NFL. He can say that he's done that. Hopefully he'll be able to have an impact for the Chicago Bears going on next season. And then number 10, to conclude the show, as I mentioned, Roswell has a phenomenal offense. 5 of their players were named All-Americans. Shows you how good they are, right? Miles Quant, Ezra Moore, who we seen hit that very tough back shot. Stone Smith, Hill Plunkett, Alex Lobel. All players Brian Michalak brought up when I talked to him. As he mentioned, the defense, probably not where he wanted to be, but offensively, they are a different level, a different tier, and they continue to show that week in, week out. That's a team, I think, at 5A, 6A, who will win it all. They are my favorite out there in lacrosse on the boys' side to win it. I just think their offense is going to be too much for a lot of the defense going forward and in the playoffs. They made it to the semis, so look for them to continue to do that. And, yeah, that's my top 10 headlines for the weekend. As Graham mentioned, next week actually is the XFL championship, May 13th. So we'll see how those two teams play. I think it's the Renegades and it's another team. I have to confirm that. But I don't know if there's anything major happening this weekend. I know soccer championships are concluding on the high school level. Am I missing anything on the? There it is. Okay, because Craig reminded me. I almost forgot. He's probably going to mention on the show too. But track sectionals are taking place this weekend as well. So if you have nothing to do, go check those out. Some of the best players in the state, best track runners in the state will be competing. Sectionals, it's the top 4 teams in region. They battle it out to see who goes to state. So stay tuned for that. That will be the whole weekend. Far as college, I don't believe it's anything major. I think baseball World Series is going to start here pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. But no major college happenings going on this weekend. NFL, as we know, we just had the draft. Go back and go watch Underrated Overlooked podcast. We broke down the NFL draft for some of our favorite picks and teams. So go check that out on ScoreATL.com or on Score Atlanta YouTube page. If you're watching, go check that out. But yeah, if you really have nothing to do, definitely check out this series, right? It's going to be game 2 tonight. Golden State Warriors, Los Angeles Lakers, the best series in the second round. Definitely check it out. It's high-level basketball between both of the teams. One team can shoot really well. One team is good at finishing in the paint. Go check that out. Both of those teams are phenomenal. I think one of the best series probably of the playoffs between those two teams. So definitely go check that out. And that's all I got for you guys this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Happy Friday Eve. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week. And then tune into Craig's Show tomorrow at noon for another episode of GHSA Drive for the state title. I'm sure we'll have some great guests and some great people. But that's all I got for you guys this week. Enjoy. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Peace.